are able to come back and see what our meeting proceeding looked like. Next slide, please. So we are actually going to hold off on approving meeting minutes until our December meeting. We do have a couple of sets of minutes that need approval, but there is some concern about inaccuracy in one of those minutes. So rather than spend our meeting time right now going into that, we are going to offer members with concerns the opportunity to edit and offer feedback on anything that is inaccurately represented in those minutes. And so you will see those reissued and sent around to members. And we will just come back to that in December. Okay. So I'm just going to go through a few slides just to reorient us. If there's anyone in the room who hasn't been present for any of our prior meetings, maybe new to our process, we can be repetitive sometimes, but it's important to make sure that we are as clear as we can be and helping people understand our work. Next slide. So I'll just start with some of the work we've been doing in the second half-ish of the year. We did have 3 town halls in May, and we have at this point concluded the 3 subcommittee retreats that we planned to have. There was one in March, one in June, and then of course, most recently in October on the 28th. We've had 2 full body meetings in May and July prior to this one. And then I think many in the room was there, but we hosted what we called a community co-interpretation event in September, which was an opportunity for folks to understand the landscape analysis work that the American Institutes for Research did on our behalf. Okay. I'm going to actually pause for a second because I have had a process request from one of our members that we do a roll call of members so that folks know who is in the room as a voting member of the Redding Consortium. And I apologize for not doing that sooner. I guess we should always be doing that. I know we count who's here, but if we could just do a full roll call so people can hear all the names of the Redding Consortium membership and know who's actually in attendance tonight. All right. Take it away, Carolyn.
Sure, I can do that. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Aaron Bass.
Bass, here.
Ayana Khan. Simone Silver. Danye Woods.
I'm here.
Sorry. Okay. Superintendent Deirdre Joyner.
Deirdre Joyner here.
Superintendent Darrell Green. Senator Eric Buxton. Superintendent Jeff Menzer.
Jeff Menzer's here.
Jennifer Tompkins. Mayor John Carney.
Here.
Superintendent Joe Jones.
Here.
Kendra Brown.
Here.
Superintendent Lisa Lawson.
Good evening, I'm present.
Margie Lopez Waite.
Here.
Councilwoman Maria Cabrera.
The councilwoman is in the house.
Maria Matos. Matt Den.
Here.
Representative Namdi Chukwucha.
Present.
Ray Jones Avery.
Present.
Ray Fitzgerald. Stephanie Ingram.
I'm here.
Teron Williams.
Present.
Tika Hartsock.
Hi, Haley. I'm present virtually.
Senator Tizzy Lockman.
I'm here.
Great. That's 17 members present.
17 members present. Thank you very much. Okay. And having that on the record and allowed, we will move on. So the next slide just walks through how we narrowed to the three current redistricting options that we are still considering. We know that 18 months ago, we essentially laid out a goal to consider redistricting models, which represented governance of 2 or fewer districts managing the city of Wilmington, and the removal of the Christina School District from the city of Wilmington. That generated 9 options overall, and we set forth in that interim plan that we voted on in May 2024, a path to figure out which of those 9 potential options would be most viable and most beneficial to our goals. And the 3 retreats that we have hosted were primarily focused on gathering our 3 subcommittees, fiscal impacts, operational impacts, and community engagement together to do precisely that work. And then in our full body meeting subsequent to those meetings would be where we would affirm the direction that was uncovered in the course of the retreat conversations. So in March, we started at the beginning with all 9 and ended up with 6 that were continued to be on the table. That was confirmed in our May meeting. In June, we talked some more about those 6 and ended up with 3 that were elevated for the full body to consider as viable options, which gives us the ones that are remaining that I'll go into in the next couple of slides that we did some further discussion about at our October retreat as well. Next, oh, thank you. And so these are the 3, as folks may know. So there's 1 which has 2 districts expanding to be the sole districts governing in the city of Wilmington. So essentially splitting the city of Wilmington, while other major districts that currently serve Wilmington would no longer be present. I'll show a map in a moment. Metropolitan Wilmington School District and a Northern Newcastle County School District, and we'll go to the descriptions in the maps to make that a little clearer. Next slide. So as I said, what this does is it has Brandywine and Red Clay School Districts dividing responsibility for the education of students within the geographical boundaries of the city of Wilmington. Next slide. That could look a couple of different ways. It has historically been referred to as the river plan. But there's different ways, as you can see in the color representation on the screen, that one might divide the city between those 2 districts. And so that would be yet to be determined. Next slide, please. Another of the models has been referred to as the Metropolitan Wilmington School District. What this one does is it takes the districts that would serve students within the geographical boundaries of the city of Wilmington and all of what we currently see as the Brandywine and Red Clay school districts and consolidates all of those areas. So same geographic area as you saw in the last model option, but consolidating into one school district. And that is the map within the red outline there of what you see in the geographic city of Wilmington and the 2 northernmost school districts of Red Clay and Brandywine, all within one boundary. So that would be the Metropolitan Wilmington School District. And finally, the model of the Northern Newcastle County Consolidated School District, which would take not just the city of Wilmington, but all of the surrounding areas north of the Appomattox School District, because they are not part of the purview of the work of the Redding Consortium, and consolidates all 4 of those districts which currently serve Wilmington into one district. And you can see the map on the next slide. So everything within that red line is what is currently covered by those 4 school districts and inclusive of the city of Wilmington. And so that's just a brief overview of the meeting history and trajectory and the 3 models that are still before us. I'm going to hand it over to Kelly Sheretz from our IPA team to talk us through what our subcommittees have been working on in the last couple of months.
Next slide, please, Alina. So the Community Engagement Subcommittee has worked on the creation of an educator advisory panel to ensure educators' needs and voices are involved and reflected in the final plan. sorry. We hosted 2 educator town halls. And we asked the educator advisory panel, 3 questions, getting feedback about the 3 options and how to best support educator needs. Feedback on how to best support students, educators, and community members. And getting feedback on the approved resolutions from the discretionary recommendations committee. Sorry, I don't think it's not.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry, I have the wrong sheets in front of me. So, like. There we go. Community engagement from other groups. There was a pager created and distributed to City of Wilmington students. The Wilmington Interagency Collaboration held presentations in October and November. PACE Parent Engagement Dinner Series, there were presentations about redistricting in September and October. Wilmington City Council, there was a meeting on October 8th at the Education, Youth and Family Services Committee meeting. And there have been various presentations at local school events across the city of Wilmington. The Operational Impact Subcommittee, since the co-interpretation event in September, there have been 2 meetings. One discussed school choice implications for the 3 redistricting models. The other talked about building capacity and transportation impacts for the 3 models. The subcommittee is currently working on collecting building capacity and enrollment information for potentially affected districts and summarizing information from meeting discussions. That's the new. And then Fiscal Impacts Committee has requested support from the Controller General's office for drafting preliminary cost estimates. That includes cost estimates for leveling up pay scales for educators and school staff at each of the school districts that might be affected with the consolidation, and the CFOs from all of the districts have been helping pull information for that. And the AIR social drivers landscape analysis was presented at the last meeting, and the final report is available online. And now I know that. Okay.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to give you a brief update on the discretionary recommendations committee. And those of you who got here 5 minutes before the meeting got to see the last meeting of the discretionary recommendations committee. That committee's work is finished now. Back in July, you may remember that we approved a motion that basically indicated that redistricting was not the entirety of our work, and that if that's all that we did, that we wouldn't really be serving the children that we're trying to help adequately. So in the statute that set us up, fortunately, gives us the opportunity to make recommendations that go beyond just changing district lines. So in July, we set up this discretionary recommendations committee to try to refine and get some cost estimates around other options that the consortium would be able to look at when it proposed a plan. We set up a 7-person committee, and that committee was very, very busy over a 2.5-month period of time. And I just wanted to thank the 7 folks from this committee who volunteered to spend the time. Senator Lockman, Margie, Jeff Menzer, who I think is online, Kendra, and Stephanie Ingram, and Tika Hartsock. We met every single week for a period, almost every single week for a period of about 2.5 months, and did a lot of work in between meetings as well. And what we have come up with is a series of resolutions that narrowed down some of the subject matters that we had voted in July that we wanted to have looked at, put some details necessarily around what we would try to get cost estimates for, and then provided some specifics as to what we wanted cost estimates for. And the goal of all of this was to bring some options back to this group when we start talking about an actual plan, options that would have some concrete details around them, and options that would have some firm cost estimates on them, so that we would be able to make some informed choices when we put together a plan about what items, other than simply changing district lines, we wanted to recommend. So when you see the resolutions, you'll see that, for example, when it comes to just picking one, outside school time programs, we were very specific about what the hours ought to be, what the curriculum, ought to be focused on in terms of academics. And then we asked for 6 different cost options, that varied according to, what schools the programs would be offered in, and whether they would be offered just in elementary schools or in elementary and middle schools. So the goal is to come back to this group, with some very specific choices, that we can then make in an informed way. So they're at the stage now where we're trying to have cost estimates done. Our finance subcommittee is very busy. And thankfully, Senator Lockman was able to talk to the General Assembly's Controller General Office. And the folks in that office have very kindly agreed to generate the cost estimates for us, for this particular set of resolutions. So if all goes well, and I expect that it will, when we get to the point that we are talking about a specific plan for whatever redistricting option we choose to focus on, we'll have those options in front of us. And I'm really looking forward to having that conversation, because I think you'll see when you see those options that there are some really exciting potential things, that we can be offering to these kids, that we are trying to help. And also as a byproduct of that, to the extent that there are, opportunities for folks who don't live in the city. Some of these programs, I think, are going to be very interesting, to parents who don't necessarily live in the city and who are looking for opportunities for their kids to attend some very exciting programs, and might choose to send their children, into the city to attend some city schools, to the extent that there are opportunities there. So the work of the committee is now done. And again, I just want to thank the committee members who put in a lot of time, and I think did some really good work in queuing things up for us to talk about.
Thank you very much. Any questions? For Matt or other members of that committee? I don't know if there's any online, it's for the consortium at this time. Any consortium members have a question or comment about the work of the discretionary recommendation committee? Okay.
This is Tika. I don't have a question for the discretionary committee, but I did have a question for the previous slide that I put in the chat. So I don't know if now would be a time to answer or later.
Which slide, Tika?
Was that
For-
from the,
It was in regards to the community engagement. So with
Oh.
for the events that were held, was do we know how many members attended and what their affiliation was, like whether they were a parent, or educator, etc.?
I am looking at, I don't have anything currently at my fingertips. I have heard some reports on that, but I can check. I'm looking at the staff who staff those meetings. If that's some numbers that we can get. I don't know offhand.
I only can give you
Okay.
numbers from my meetings, but
Yeah, Kendra
There
can
was
give me
no-
information from her meeting, but again, I think we'll have to report back to you on that one, but thank you for the question.
Thank you. I think it'd be helpful too, so if we can see where there might be gaps of people we want to engage more. Thank you.
For sure, thank you. Okay, so I think if there are no other questions on discretionary or even prior slides, we are at the public comment portion of our agenda where we come back and talk timeline. So I believe there is a list. Okay, I am receiving a list of folks who have signed up for public comment. And we're circulating it to make sure everyone who would like to be on that list has had the opportunity. Make sure that I have that everybody? Is there anyone here who did not get their opportunity to sign up on the list? Who would like to offer public comment? Okay, so we are. Make sure that I have the right time, because I cannot read all the way from here. All right, so you have individual or 3 minutes if you're affiliated with an organization. I see Lou and Helen Furman first. Are you doing it jointly or just you, Ms. Helen? Yes.
Well,
Here, let's hand you the microphone. Oh, good, there's a second microphone.
Well, I appreciate the concern for social needs of the children in the public schools, especially when the city of Wilmington seems to be the epicenter of the opioid industry in Delaware. And I think it is an elephant in the room. There is a discretionary, well, not discretionary, but there is a super fund, settlement fund, I guess. I think it has $100 million in it. That the state won in settlement for the prescription opioid lawsuit against pharmaceuticals. And it was a problem, a big problem here in Delaware. But not only do we have the big pharma cartel, but we've got the other cartel, and it targets single mothers with dependent children, you know, in a widely low rent city. So that's an elephant in the room. And then opening up these marijuana shops all over the city just adds insult to injury. And it's already become a problem with children showing up for grade school high on marijuana because it's the smoke in the car and the smoke in the kitchen and the smoke in their life. And marijuana today is much more addictive than in the 1960s. It's a different product. And there is a toxicity issue, and medical doctors do talk about it. How is that impacting any child's ability to absorb information and get an education? So that's one issue. The other is, I don't think we can talk about equity, education equity, unless we really have a definition that equity exists when all the children are on grade level. We can't just throw social programs at them. We have to look at how are they learning? What are they learning? What does it take to absorb information? Okay, am I done? Well, I'm an individual, I get 2 minutes. I'm also an organization and I get 3, and that makes 5.
So you can, either individual or organization, so take your last minute.
Well, I'll wrap it up by saying, I really think that these 3 options should all include a paragraph that gives the 9 schools, or however, all the schools located inside the corporate city of Wilmington, some sort of a subcommittee and a control. We have to have some control here over the curriculum, over whatever. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Helen. I think that's all I have on my list. Is there anyone else who wanted to offer public comment online or? Nope. Or in person? This is your opportunity, and maybe make sure if anyone is online that you raise your hand so we have the opportunity. Okay. All right, there we go. Make sure to introduce yourself. I don't have your name on my sheet.
Hi, I'm Brandy. You know who I am. I want to address the social drivers and.
No, it's a public comment. You have to say your whole name for the record.
Brandy Topolsky, and I represent a parent at BSC. I want to address the social drivers that came up in the last meeting and the responsible agencies that we already have in place for that. Where's the accountability for them in that? If it's impacting the schools, like what are we doing as far as oversight on them? And I've already been down the whole FOIA hole. I've seen there's not much oversight in the state. Like we did the whole DTI merger years ago, and that was supposed to enhance things and make things more efficient. I mean, I work with these systems, I work with the databases. I know that you guys could be running so many analytics that are available and you guys aren't doing it. I haven't seen anything as far as projections. I FOIA'd an email from November of last year on where I think it was University of Delaware requested revenue models. And where are those projections? It was the revenues for the tax revenues. Where are those models? Any idea? I'm just saying I haven't seen the transparency. I see ideas, and don't get me wrong, they're all great ideas. But are we thinking it through? Are we analyzing the data before we put a vote out of what is really impacting our schools? Education matters, but also how we approach it And the existing agencies having accountability for their role in it also matters. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else that who would like to speak public comment? And I sort of, again, make sure we're making space for folks online. So we know if there's anyone online with a hand up before we proceed. Oh, okay, great. Make sure you say your full name for the record.
So my name is Beth Morris. I'm a community member, and hopefully a future parent of a child who will be in one of our school districts. I do have some questions about some of the evaluated risks of duplicated budgets between the state and social service agencies and school-based wraparound programs, as well as some of the fiscal transparency and accountability. Just like Brandy said, we have a lot of agencies that are overlapping, and we have the resources to pull data and analytics, and I want to know whether or not we're using these resources. Also, some of the broader policy and governance concerns that I have are: how does the consortium plan to prevent fiscal instability resulting from duplicated service deliveries? As well as, what are the protections that are in place to ensure that education dollars remain within education rather than funding social service functions historically assigned to other departments? How will you ensure that the curriculum and service reforms do not evolve into ideological or political programming within our schools? What measures are being taken to avoid repeating the 1978 and 1981 consolidation failure, particularly regarding transportation and inefficiencies and fiscal wastes? I've received a lot of feedback from parents, especially in the city, who are concerned about their children having to wake up early hours in the morning to ride in the school bus for an hour, and they're falling asleep in class. This has been a major issue, not just for these children in the city, but also in the suburbs. Our busing system has created a little bit of error with the transportation, and we're carting our children 45 minutes away from their home, and some of these create some some issues with the parents having to get to the schools as well. I myself come from a single mother family. I have been a product of some of the issues that come with that. The statistic, growing up in a single mother family, I didn't have a father growing up and ended up having some issues in school. One of my teachers is sitting right in front of me. I did have a lot of issues, and I don't know whether or not that consolidating our school districts is going to be the answer to solving some of our social inequities.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other public comments in the room before we move on? Or online? Do we have anybody with hands raised online? Okay. All right, so that will conclude public comment. Thank you to everyone who took the time to contribute. And we're going to move on to this would be our final agenda. Well, after the final agenda item. We wanted to talk through our timeline a bit of where we are in our workflow and where we are going from here. I think there has been some confusion about it, that we wanted to make sure we offered clarity and transparency into it, and also just taking into account the discussions that we had at our retreat, which is what our full body meetings following the retreats are always for. And we had discussed the potential of taking the vote on model narrowing at this meeting. And I think what we heard in the retreat instead was some request for some additional pieces of information. And so what our timeline looks like now, taking all of that into account, is what you see on the screen before you. November 6th, that is where we are right now. So looking at the remainder of the month, being an opportunity for some further community discussion. And we have also, my co-chair, Dan and I have scheduled presentations with all of the school boards that are represented on the consortium. So that's Red Clay, Brandywine, Colonial, Christina, and Newcastle County, vote heck. And also the fiscal, or some of the financial analyses that have been referenced, are expected through this month as well. And so what this would allow us to do would be to close some of the gaps that came up at our at our October retreat, so that we can come back here on December 16th with that full intention of taking the vote to narrow to an option, which is absolutely necessary for us to do the things that were prior indicated on the timeline we discussed in July, the public hearings and the drafting of the actual plan. Next slide. So that would take us into the new year, where we expect to continue the drafting of the plan on the basis of the model that we select in December, so that we can have that full plan for review of consortium members as well as the broader community, and get to the point where we are in a position to do the public hearings. There we see February as the new projected time from where it was previously, so that we can get feedback on an actually fully constituted plan with a lot of the details that folks are asking of us now in this period, which, not having a drafted plan, we're unfortunately unable to fully answer. And then next slide. That puts us in a position of proposed vote on that plan for submission or review by the State Board of Education, after which period, should they approve the plan that we submit to them, it would then move on to the General Assembly for its consideration in late spring. So that is kind of where we are at and the flow that we're expecting. It's a little bit, it's certainly different from the one that we discussed in July. So we wanted to make sure that was in front of everyone, see if folks in the consortium have any questions or comments on what we are presenting. And while we do not have to necessarily take a vote, we thought it would be good for us to acknowledge and approve that we are all on the same page about where our process timeline stands. Any questions or comments?
There is a question.
Margie?
So the community discussion in November, so is that already scheduled? Is there time, place, location?
As soon as we have it, we'll get it up and out to everybody.
Yeah, that would probably take a format much like the May, where it's a virtual town hall, so we would have to have an anchor location determined. So we've been working on the coordination for that and just making sure that we actually have a date certain that we can start to advertise for that town hall. But I know that there has been a lot of interest, and there are, as was mentioned in the community engagement, some sort of external groups also engaging in community discussion facilitation. So it's in reference to that as well.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
So then the financial analysis, is that something that we're going to see at the start of the December 16th meeting?
Cool.
That's it. That is the goal. I think the goal would be that it's something we'll be able to talk about at the school board meetings as well. Yeah, so there will be documentation and public discussion of it prior to that December meeting, but for the consortium members as a collective coming together around one table, yes, prior to that, but in terms of a formal meeting where we'll be looking at it and talking about it, that December 16th is when we'll be able to do that. Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, just a concern as to whether or not we have leaves enough time for the General Assembly. It just seems awful tight for a product that's going to be dropped, what, early June or late May? It's not real clear. I understand what you're trying to do in there, but
Yeah.
makes me awful nervous.
Yeah, I think that is a very fair point. I think we are doing our best to balance urgency and being deliberative and making sure people have the space that they need to fully consider all the ideas. I think we had a more expedited timeline as concerns the model selection. And based on the feedback that we've received, we have slowed that roll at a couple junctures because it seemed like people needed more deliberation around that. And so we've had to now accommodate that on the back end.
Yeah, just the people who want and deserve the biggest or the most extensive deliberation don't have a lot of time to do.
Well, and I would say, and I look to my colleague here in case you wanted to add anything to it, I don't think we have any intention of waiting until June to have those conversations. Do you want to speak to that?
Absolutely. I know there are plans in terms of engagement in both the House and the Senate. Senator Lockman and I spoke about engaging our colleagues in formal presentations, as well as the Black Caucus members being updated on our plan before. So we're trying to build that support before it's presented.
Yeah, I think that's, if I may.
Yes,
That'll be necessary. First of all, my objective, like I said 10 times, I'll say it again, is to get something passed. You know, I can live. Certainly.
Somebody on here going on.
I'm just concerned that, you know, there's another excuse, we don't have enough time, blah, 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 and I think the real focus ought to be on what it takes to get something done. My own view is that the question around financing and cost is a really important one, particularly in this crazy context of the property tax mess. And so I think those issues are important to get that information as soon as possible. And then at least, I obviously defer to you all with respect to your colleagues, but get them the information that they need, because they're going to be hearing about it from folks that are in this room and people that aren't in this room. But the emphasis ought to be, let's get something done.
Absolutely. Sure, that.
Can I just make a note? Superintendent Lawson has had her hand up for a while. Just want to acknowledge the online participants.
Superintendent Lawson?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so my question actually piggybacked off of Margie's. If you could go back to the previous slide. So what information will consortium members have prior to the December 16th vote? So what data will we have? What fiscal analysis, potentially financials? What information will we have before us prior to the December?
Superintendent Lawson, the goal is for each of the three options, to have cost estimates in terms of what the cost to the state would be for each of the three options on the table before consortium members are asked to choose between them. And then, you know, in terms of once it's narrowed down to a single redistricting option and a more detailed plan is put together, I think that the expectation is that there will be much more refined cost estimates for the specifics of that plan. But in terms of voting on December 16th, speaking for myself, I think that the consortium members should have at least rough estimates of the state cost of each of the three options before they're asked to choose between them.
Yeah, in terms of what we heard on the 28th about what people were the most hungry for to feel fully ready to take that vote, that was primary among them. And then also wanting to for us to have that audience with our school boards as well, to make sure that we are having full conversations about the options in as many venues as possible. So we'll be able to come back and report on those meetings as well.
And so inclusive of that information, will the social drivers piece be separate or actually conjoined with all three of the options forward, since we know that those pieces have to be integrated into any kind of moving feeder pattern lines and boundaries in order to have an effect?
Yeah, I think the plan is for December 16th to the vote solely be on which district configuration the plan is going to be focused on. So the social drivers part of it obviously is going to be an important part of whatever detailed plan is developed. But I think the goal on the 16th is just to narrow down the district configuration choice to one. And just to tack on briefly to what Senator Lockman mentioned about meetings in December, we've also, you may recall at the last meeting, there was a concern raised about making sure that potential impact of the choice between the three options might have on students with disabilities, that be fully vetted. And so we've also offered to meet in early December with the Governor's Advisory Council on Exceptional Citizens to hear whatever concerns that group might have that are specific to students with disabilities and what might be better or worse for those students in terms of choosing between the three plans. And that'll be noticed as a public meeting of GACEC when it happens.
Yes, and if I can, I welcome anyone else to comment on it, particularly who's been in a leadership position around our social drivers work. The landscape analysis was called for in our interim plan, in part because I think we wanted to both have a full understanding of some of the challenges produced by the fractured system that we currently exist within, so that future districts, whatever the configuration that looks like, would be best positioned to ask for and receive the resources needed to address those challenges. I don't know if that's super clear, but I'm trying to make sure we're not confused about why we have a social drivers analysis and what its purpose is.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, did you have a question?
No. That's okay, she said. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna pass the mic. Oh, here comes the mic, right?
Thank you. Ray Jones Avery. I was a member of the social drivers working group. The final report, and we can call out those pages, has a section that looks at 10 variables juxtaposed against all the models and more detail around the three remaining models. And looking at those 10 variables using data, it calls out specifically what's more favorable, what's comparable, and what's less favorable. So I would ask people to draw your attention to the entire report. That section in particular has as a crosswalk around the considerations of the three models that are on the table.
Thank you. Yes.
So just looking at the plan to present to the school board. So I'm looking at Brandywine, they have a meeting November 17th. Colonial had their meeting on November 4th, so we passed that meeting.
We gave a range of dates between December 1 and December 11th that we reached out to the board presidents, and each have selected a date of their
So
own.
they're all gonna have these special meetings.
It
and
seems
they're all-
like it. They may already have a standing workshop, for example, that they're incorporating us into, but they all quite quickly chose dates separate and apart from full.
So they're gonna happen between December 1st and December,
I think the last one is the 9th, actually, is it?
okay. So they will be special meetings and then open to the public. Okay, thank you.
And then I believe, and this idea came from Newcastle County VOTEC, is hosting the all school boards meeting on December 12th. It's a breakfast meeting that we'll be presenting there as well.
Senator Lockman, I can expand on that just for a quick second. It's Joe Jones.
Oh, thank you so much.
So each year, the Newcastle County School Districts host combined board school meetings. So typically anywhere from 2 to 3 board members come to a central location representing each district. And we present on different topics and different people come. So I just had put out to Senator Lockman and Matt Den that this might be an opportunity to have multiple boards at the same time. So we're still working with the Hilton on a room and a date, but we're tentatively right now for December 12th.
Okay. Thank you for that clarity. We're planning to be there whenever and wherever it is. Okay, Kendra, you had a question? Do we need to get you a mic?
Right, I just want just request for those dates to be sent out to the full body
The
and
school board meeting?
yes, and the subcommittees.
That request was for the dates that we've arranged to speak with our school boards to be shared with the full body, and we will certainly do that.
Councilwoman would like to make a comment.
Councilwoman Cabrera?
Thank you. Thank you for calling on me. I did have a conversation with Maria Matos. I'm not sure if she's on the line or not. And I have, been leaning towards, in terms of one of the three options towards the metropolitan, just keeping our kids in the city in unison with Brandywine. But she did bring up an important point. Our ESL learners, resources for them, would they get lost and would they have the resources in the metropolitan model versus the northern Newcastle model where it would be pulling in more resources from more areas? So just wondering what is being taken into account in terms of those special needs children as well as our ESL learners as we're looking at these three models. Would like to have, further discussion on that before, making my final decision. And I know that that is something that concerned Maria, and I do believe that our Mayor Gubb had also brought that up when well, he didn't bring this issue specifically, but in having our minds made up about the model, now these other questions are coming up. Do our children get lost in any one of these three models? So if we could kind of take a closer look at that.
Thank you for raising that.
Welcome.
Any other comments or questions on where we are at in our process? We have, oh, yes.
Hello,
Sorry, was that a member? Was that a member? Okay, I would be happy to entertain a motion, sort of acknowledgement and approval of this revision of the timeline from what had been presented at our last meeting.
I'll make a motion that we accept the redistricting 5-day timeline that has been presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I think we'll need a roll call. Assuming we still have quorum. Yes, all right, great.
All right, ready for the roll call?
Yep.
Aaron Bass,
Yes.
Ayana Khan, Simone Silver, Danye Woods,
Yes.
Superintendent Joyner,
Yes.
Superintendent Green,
Yes.
Senator Buxton, Superintendent Menzer,
Yes.
Jennifer Tompkins,
Yes.
Mayor John Carney,
Yes.
Superintendent Joe Jones,
Yes.
Kendra Brown,
Yes.
Superintendent Lawson,
Yes.
Margie Lopez Waite,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera,
Yes.
Maria Matos, Matt Den,
Yes.
Representative Trococha,
Yes.
Ray Jones Avery,
Yes.
Ray Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Stephanie Ingram,
Yes.
Teron Williams,
Yes.
Tika Hartsock,
Yes.
Senator Tizzy Lockman.
Yes.
That was 20 yeses, the motion passes.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, so that business being done, move on to the next and final slide we have here. So what people can expect next, we've talked about this quite a bit, so I think what you can expect is that we will very shortly be sharing both internally with consortium members, but also with the general public, the precise date for that virtual town hall. And also all of the school board presentation opportunities for folks to tune into or attend. And our next full body meeting will be in December, and as you probably noticed in the timeline, we will continue to meet monthly for the next bit, so see you all soon. Any final comments before we adjourn the meeting? Okay, looks like we are done our business here. Thank you, everybody.